our speaker today, Miss Heather Peery. Wow, she lives in Southern California. We love her to death. You know that. Married to a handsome guy named Mr. Stephen. Met him at the mansion up in Beverly Hills for Mr. Nelson's party, the invite only. It was an amazing party. God, it was amazing. Teenager daughter and a son. Loves working with kids, having a good time. Her and Jen Olsen are inseparable. These guys are Bobbsey twins. That's your nickname. You girls see one, you can't see one after the other. These girls are nonstop. Wow. She loves CrossFit. She's on her road to a run for regional vice president. She said, forget RD, that's just a pit stop. And we just love hearing from her. She is one of the up and coming superstars. And so with that said, can we give a warm Thursday welcome to the one and only, one of the greatest, Miss Heather Peery. Yeah, good morning, 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 good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you, Mr. Thomas. Welcome back.
Thank you, dear.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for everything that you do. I know everyone hears us on the call all the time, but guys, it's not just saying words to say it, because that's what people say at the I was thinking about this before I was going to talk. It's like, wow, he really doesn't have to do the things that he does. Like calls like this, they're available to us. They're free. It's Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturday and Sunday if you participate in those. So thank you, Mr. Thomas, for just all that you do, being that true servant leader and having me come on a call like this, because calls like this have really helped me grow and shifted a mindset, and they just do so much. So it's really important to me. So good morning, you guys. Okay, I'm excited for this message because I know God is going to speak, but also it's personal to me because I've gone through it. So I know it's going to speak to a lot of people today. So if it's not for you, listen as a leader, because you might need to coach someone, or you might need to see this in someone in your team to understand why they may be doing or not doing certain things in the business, so everyone can hear. So first of all, I want to ask, you guys can put in the chat, get ready, what you think the definition of a skill is. What do you think the definition of a skill is? Like, what's a skill? If you know definition, anything, put it out in the chat. What is a skill? Something learned. Cool. Good job, Ariel. Yeah, something learned. Anything else? There's a couple keywords. The ability to do something, a trade. Awesome. Couple more. Something you can do over and over unconsciously. Cool. One more. Something you practice and become proficient. Ooh, close. Good, good. Okay, cool. So we're going to watch, it's literally 1 minute and 7 seconds video, and then I'll come back.
That is, I just want to be sure you understand what a skill is. So I don't use PowerPoint because I don't like it, because PowerPoint kind of puts everybody to sleep and then somebody reads to you, and I kind of like to provide the power and you guys will get the point, and then we'll talk a little bit. Now we're going to talk about a skill, so let me define the word skill by giving you the definition of skill. You know what a skill is, I know that, but there's more parts to it than I think you realize. So that's what a skill is. Okay? So let me ask you, what's the 2 most important words in that definition of skill? Absolutely. So the kicker is, for this conversation, everybody in this room, everybody in this school, everybody in any school can learn to train themselves to practice what I'm going to talk about. I guarantee it. And the more time you invest in training yourself to practice these 2 skills now in high school, the better it's going to be for you when you get out of high school.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I get fired up when I hear that because it's so true. And a little bit of what was Julian Lewis was talking about on Tuesday, it kind of ties into this. So I was like, oh, this theme is going to keep shouting. So did you hear what he said? He said, you can learn to train yourself to practice these things. Do you have thoughts like that when you're going to approach anything? I can learn this, or is it like a negative thought? He says, you can learn to train yourself to practice. Okay. He said, the more time you invest into putting into training, that means it's on us. The more time we put So what does our business promote a lot of? Like we hear all the time that you might even throw up. They're always promoting what? What's the word? Training. Yes, Miss Olson, training. Okay, why do we need that training? Why do they promote training so much? If this is so natural to us, right? We need training and practice. The definition: a great ability or proficiency, expertise, knowledge, understanding, or judgment that comes from training and practice. So does that mean any of these skills in ACN are natural to us? We were just born to be able to do it? No, it takes training and practice. You're gonna see me look at my notes a little bit because I want to go over everything that I was thinking of just for a few days. So now all this type of coaching that I'm saying right now and that you've heard on these calls, you know, it doesn't mean anything if your fear is out of control, the limiting beliefs, the comparison you do, the negative self-talk. All this coaching is very, very hard to take in and to understand. Now, me personally, I am a product of the training and practice of ACN over a long period of time. So just to encourage you, I mean, I've never owned a business. I don't have family members that have owned a business. I didn't have any business training or any business mindset told to me. I mean, my parents were warehouse workers, hard workers, but it's an employee, works in a warehouse. You know, I've had many different jobs. None of them were leadership positions. They were employee jobs, not a career job, work, manual labor. Okay, this is to encourage you. I've had some college, not a college graduate. Just letting you know, these are things that when you see ACN and you're seeing people present and you're seeing all these things, it's a skill that, yes, you can learn. School, wasn't the best student in school. Okay, very hard time learning. It was tough. Doesn't matter. You can despite all that, these skills can be learned here in ACN. So leading into it, Mr. Thomas, no, he kind of led into what I was going to say. So why do we make these things in ACN so big in our heads? Like, why are the emotions so big? When it's like, okay, you're up, it's time to present. And then we go, ugh. Or guess what? It's time to use that favor help try to ask for a customer. Ugh. It's a big deal for us. So maybe it's even traumatic, right? So why do we think that, you know, why is this such a big deal when it's time for us to step up to the plate? Does anyone have any idea? So because we're thinking of ourselves versus thinking about envisioning our why? Yes, yes. So here's some examples of things that take practice. The point of this call is I really want you guys to take out all the things that make it complicated. The emotions make it complicated. The overthinking makes it complicated. What if we just thought, hey, this is a skill I'm learning and I need to practice it and I will learn it. What if just that? You've heard Mr. Thomas many times say, oh, great job so-and-so on the overview, reading the slides. She just read the slides. Great job. Did you hear what he said? She just read the slides. Some of us, when you say just read the slides, I bet some of you, I'm only speaking from experience, I bet some of you have crazy thoughts like, I can't just read the slides. Then they're going to know I'm reading the slides. That's a problem. That's what fear, right? Read the slides. Remember, keeping it simple. What if you just thought of it as, I need to practice and it's a skill I need to learn for my business. So how am I going to do that unless someone throws me out there to go practice it? That's simple. I'm learning a skill for my business. So example, let's keep this really simple. Examples of things that are practice. Cooking. Cooking takes practice. You're not born knowing how to cook. You have to practice, right? Walking. When you were little, you had to practice to walk, right? And you got it. Cleaning. I know it sounds funny, but when you're a teenager or whoever brought you up, they're teaching you how to clean. You don't know how to clean good unless you practice and actually do it, right? Each time. Driving. You had to practice driving. You had to get in the car, actually do the stick shift, turn the wheel, look at the road. You had to actually practice, right? But I don't think anyone had a thought when they're, driving or grocery shopping. You had to practice grocery shopping. You didn't know how to do it either. You weren't thinking like when you were in the grocery store with the cart going, God, they grocery shop better than me. They pick up the bread better and put it in my cart a little better too. Like you weren't thinking that, you were just like learning. You're like, oh, this is how you grocery shop. Oh, I get that. And okay, I gotta watch how much this is. But it was simple, right? You're like, okay, I'm learning. Working out takes practice. What if you don't know how to do weights? I grew up running cross country, just running and doing soccer. Guess what? I didn't know how to do weights. I didn't do the gym thing. So I need practice. Even now, CrossFit, I'm not experienced lifting weights. There's so much form involved in all that. I looked like a fool for the first few months. Like, what? Do this, do that. Practice, right? But coming every day, now I know more, right? Because I'm doing it. I'm putting it. I'm willing to, I guess you could think, look silly if you're learning something. Forgot shaving. You got to practice shaving. You got to do it. Girls, makeup, you practice, right? So why don't we keep this simple like that when it's time to practice and learn a new skill? Why? So the answer is baggage. Goes back to my very first message that I talked about, was getting to the root. Do you know all these calls that we have there? This is a power-packed week, is so good. But you're just listening, and you really won't put it into practice unless you go to the root of your issue. If someone asks you to do a presentation and you're gripped by fear and you're gripped by comparing yourself and you're gripped by all these things, why you can't do it right and why it's a big deal, why you can't read the slides, something's going on there and you need to get after it. So even Mr. Thomas, as great of the words he just said right now, you guys got to really know your why. You guys got to really dig down deep. Do you know, from experience, I know, do you know you can't dig deep into your why when you have the baggage? Because you can't see, you can't envision anything, because to get there, we have to do these skills in ACN, right? Build a team, present, get customers. But if you're so scared and you're comparing yourself and you're like, I don't want to, and you're resisting, how are you going to grow a business? So this is first. And remember, I only talk about things that I know about. I'm not repeating this. I had to go through this. I had to do this myself. Okay. I was scared to death to get a customer. It took a lot. And guess what? This is what's really crazy. I was in a Saturday training. I'll never forget this. I said, wow, I didn't know I was coming for this. They were just teaching favor, help, try, getting great training on favor, help, try, and digging into your why and why we use the favor and, get vulnerable and do it, all these things. And I started really thinking, you guys got to start asking yourselves questions. Why do I react like this? Why is this such a big deal? Why am I freaking out? Why am I so scared? Like, admit it to yourself. This is the work it takes. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, why can't I just do this? Why can't I just do what they're saying? And you know what? Wow. God took me way back as a kid. And you know what? I didn't want to ask anyone a favor because the people closest to me held things over my head. It wasn't just a simple favor. It was coming back to me. They were holding it over my head for doing something nice for me. So I transferred that to my customer acquisition training. Did not see that coming, but guess what? I got to the root of that and I said, oh my gosh, like that was a story in my head, like Mr. Julian Lewis was talking about. I was thinking, they're not going to do a favor for me. Yeah, that's great. Those people will, your family will, just like your training. Yep, I'm sure your mom, your dad, not my mom and dad, not my friends, things like that, from something from way back. Now, I don't have that story anymore, but that's just an example of something that you got to do the root, right? Get to the root of what's happening. Get a journal, start writing down experiences from your past, things that, whatever you struggle with, say if it's talking in front of people, asking whatever it is, I'm asking for the things we do in the business, write down as soon as someone mentions you presenting or someone mentions you doing anything leadership like, start paying attention to that and ask yourself, why do I react like that? And write down the words. What happens when someone tells me you're up? Oh, I get scared. I start feeling this way. I start feeling this. Write it down so you can figure out and start knowing, well, where did that come from? Where did that come from? And how come that? And you'll get all the way back to the trail where, oh, that's where that started. This is so worth saying. Mr. Julian Lewis had this tweet, I had to say it again, by Adam Grant. when he talked about failure, it says, it isn't failure that holds you back. It's the emotional baggage you carry afterward. So say you do a bad presentation, but we're learning a skill. So who cares? Like, you're practicing, big deal. But it's saying it's the emotional baggage you carry afterward. What did you learn? What were you taught about failure? Most of us, it wasn't healthy what we were taught, right? So it says self-doubt, regret, disappointment, and embarrassment are instruction manuals for learning. The goal isn't to dwell on what went wrong yesterday. It's to discover what you can do better today. Now, if we're not thinking like that, just simply like, oh, I messed up, it wasn't that great, but you know, I'm going to get up and do it again. If it's not that simple, you have baggage. And you need to stop coming to training over and over again and sitting there and listening. I mean, it's nice. I'm not saying don't stop, but it's like, you have to go do the work outside of training and go backtrack and go find and go get to the root. It's a must. The trainings are great. I've been to 1 million and will continue to go to 1 million more, but I know what it's like to sit there and hear this great training and see these great leaders and look how they're talking and wow, I can't wait to get there and I can't wait to this and wow, and just stuck because there's so much fear and there's so much limitation and there's so much work to be done, you know, in my mind with the negative thoughts. So it's crucial when you hear on these talks when, you know, like Mr. Julian Lewis or anyone's talking about your thoughts, that is so true. Do the work to start working on your thoughts and getting to the root. I promise when you start finding that root, all of a sudden you'll be able to keep it simple in the head. Because now when you've dealt with the root and you go, oh, this is why I react this way. Oh, maybe it leads you to forgive somebody in your family. Maybe it leads you to forgive something that happened in your past. Once that's let go, all of a sudden things become more simple. Now you can approach HCN and go, oh, I'm going to learn a skill. Let's learn how to present, because now that baggage is dealt with. That forgiveness has started, the whatever. I'm speaking from experience, okay? So remember, these skills, we're not born with them. We all have to work on them. But just like the story of my mentor, Miss Jocelyn Driscoll, she'll always say when she first started, she didn't want to get in front of people. She didn't want to talk in front of people. We have to remember that the leaders that are teaching us, most of them, they did not want to talk in front of people. So we don't have that excuse. We just got to get up there, learn the skill and keep it simple. So yes, read the slides, you know, whatever you have to do to present, who cares? Tape it somewhere so you can remember. So just go easy on yourself. I know a lot of times we say, you know, don't let yourself off the hook, accountability, and that's all true. But in this area, when you're just trying to learn a skill, man, go easy on yourself. Read the slides. It's okay. Practice. It's stop torturing yourself with how big this is and compare. Like, you need to see what you're doing when you're comparing. Some of us don't know we're doing it, but we are. You know, as soon as it's someone says you're up to bat, you're up to the plate, some of us might think, oh, but I don't talk like Mr. Driscoll. It's not going to sound like that. Or Mr. Al Thomas, it's not going to sound like that. And then people aren't going to listen. And now look, on and on we go. Get to the root. Get to the root. So like I said, I even went as far as one time was when I was doing my background work some of you might not be able to live close to your childhood home, but I as far as went to, I really wanted to figure this out. I was so frustrated with being stuck with this stuff and going to this great training and knowing that I'm meant for more and just, you know, just knowing that I am a dreamer, but there's things that are just, I'm stuck, and knowing that I do see big things for myself, but I'm stuck, but there's this thing. And so I was so determined, like, Lord, help me to figure this out. Like, what's stopping me? Like, I can't do this. So I remember I drove to my, the home that I grew up in, and I parked across the street, and I just looked at the house, and I had a journal with me, and I was like, whatever comes up, I'm going to write it down, because I got to get to the root of this thing. I am sick of this. There's just regular average people having success in this business. I'm no different. I don't know what's going on. I need to get to the root. So I just looked at the house. Any memories that came to me, I just wrote and I wrote and I wrote to see what would come up. I don't know what would come up. And I wrote pages and pages and pages, situations that happened there, things that were said to me, on and on and on, so I could see myself in writing. Ooh, Wow. So some of you might not live close to your childhood home, but I'm just giving you an example of something that you can do in the background. I mean, there's no coaching on that. That's something you got to do on your own so that you're actually doing something for your business when you do that. You really are. Because then now you can start practicing your skills and with confidence practicing, leading a team, getting through that stuff. So the main thing I want you guys to hear today is get to the root of those things so that this coaching you can finally receive and you can finally start to do. I tell you guys all the time, if I didn't do that, if the Lord didn't heal me, I didn't do my part. Yes, I believe in, the God of the Bible, Jesus Christ. Yes, he heals. He does those things, but I had to do my part too. I had to get in there and ask questions and write things down and go through stuff and forgive people and admit things to myself. I had to do that part too. It goes together. So know that when you're doing this, it does take hard work. It might be really hard. You might have to feel some things that you don't want to feel. You might even cry. I'm so sorry, but it takes a lot of bravery to do that. But it's necessary because there is amazing training here. There's amazing mentors here. I mean, ACN, you turn into a weapon with the type of training we get. Like we really do. But if we have that baggage, we cannot get there. So that has to be done. So this is why I'm so thankful for calls like this, because I've listened to calls like this for a long time, gone to trainings, and God has used that to bring things up in my mind and to change. And wow, it's powerful. So that is the main thing. So just know when it's your turn to step up and be a leader, it's your turn to step up and get the customer and actually get on the phone and say, favor, help, try. It's your turn to present. It's your turn to speak, open up a call, whatever it is. It's a skill. And guess what? Skills can be learned. Okay. So don't compare yourself. Be you when you open the call with the skills you learned. Be you when you present with the skills you learned. Be you when you ask for that favor. And last thing too that I didn't see coming for asking for customer was, a part of that too was my pride. I was like, what? I have pride for asking for a customer? Yeah, I didn't want to ask. It went hand in hand with that. They're gonna hold it over my head, and I don't want to. I'm not going there. I'm not going to feel that. I'm not going to feel the, you diss me and not be my customer because, whatever. That was a true thing. I can still think of myself in the other house that I live thinking that and struggling, wanting to do it, but feeling that way. And yeah, that was brought up to me on a Saturday training too. I was like, what in the world? I thought I was just going to learn Saturday training, but right now I'm being told that I have pride and those things play into it, but it's getting to the root. It's changing, right? So main thing, I just want to encourage you guys, do your part, get after what you need to get after so that it can be simple enough to say, you know what, I'm learning a skill. I'm just going to read the slides. I'm learning a skill, something for my business. You know what, favor, help, try. That's our system. I'm going to do it because it's a skill for my business. And everyone before me has had so much success. Let me just do it. And I'm going to practice it and I'm going to keep doing it. And when you do the presentation and it's terrible and you fumbled over the words and you said, a couple of words that didn't make sense, you're practicing and it's just going to get better and you're going to sound like you and it's going to keep better and better, better and better. So that's what I have to say to you guys. So I hope that you guys feel encouraged, encourage your team when you see this happening. And I just want you guys to be encouraged. It's a skill. That's as simple as that. If it's not that simple, get to the root, okay? So I love you guys. That's what I have. Take that with you and go. And happy Thursday.